Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System. And I wanted to take advantage of the time of year. A lot of people going to the beach. So I thought we would make something really cute for summer. You're going to come back with lots of shells and cute things like that. So I thought we would take one of my favorite wraps, and which is kind of scalloped, and apply it to a scalloped shell. I think this shell came from a friend of mine got this on the beaches of, I think, Virginia or North Carolina. I don't remember. Anyway, so we're going to do this cute little wrap on this shell, and we're going to add some little beads to the chain that has gotten all out of whack here. There we go. And that's what we're going to make today. So make a nice little necklace. And what you're going to need, so what we're going to do, we're going to do that, and we're going to, the chain that we're going, or the clasp that we're going to put on is going to be a very simple S clasp. So you're just going to need that. You're going to need some pliers, of course, round nose, chain nose or square nose, and some cutters, chain, just some very simple chain. It doesn't have to be a large, just a very simple cable chain. It doesn't have to have large holes. It just depends on what you want. You can also put your shell on cord if you want to. I'm just attaching it to a chain, and I'm just going to add some little beads in there as well, just to kind of dress up the chain a little bit. And of course, you need your shell. This nice little scalloped shell. Look at that. And two wires for the wrap for the shell itself, and to wrap the beads that you're going to put on the chain. I'm using 24 gauge wire, and for our clasp, I'm going to be using 20 gauge wire. So that is what we're doing today. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's get my little thing out here. Okay, let's get started. So let's wander on down here to the other camera. And where all of our goodies are. You also need a ruler. Yeah. So what we want to do is take our shell. You want to measure your shell, just the circumference of it. And mine is about 5 inches around. So I gave myself, cut 3 pieces of 24 gauge wire that are 3 times the size of the circumference of my shell. So 3 15-inch 24 gauge pieces of wire is what I need to make my wrap. And it's a simple braid. That's what we're doing. We're just braiding it and wrapping it on our shell. So let's start with that. Again, 3 pieces of 15-inch wire out of the 15 inches out of the 24 gauge wire. And the first thing that you're going to do is start about 1/3 of the way down, like about 5 inches away from the top of your wire. Make sure that the pieces are coming together at the top, same distance. And you can measure it. I just eyeballed it. Yeah. I just eyeballed it. And just go about 1/3 of the way down the wire. And then separate the wires out and start to braid. And I just used one hand, just hold it with one hand and braid with the other. And you just want a small braid. You don't want it too tight or too loose, just kind of a medium braid. You want it loose enough so that you can manipulate it over your shell when it's time, but not so tight that you can't spread the braid out the way you need to go over the edges of your shell. And as I'm braiding, I move my fingers down to make sure that the braid stays together. So I'm just holding on to it, moving down every few braids. And then I braid it about another third, because remember my, whatever the third is going to be the circumference around your shell. And just keep braiding. This has got to be boring. I'm not even chitter chattering. I need to keep chatting while I'm braiding so that you don't get bored watching me braid. The thing is, I think I'm catching a blasted summer cold or spring cold, I guess. Got a sore throat that is not doing me any favors. And I feel like I'm going to lose my voice before this is over. That's not good. Let me see if this looks like enough. I think I need a little bit more of a braid here. Go around. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's enough. So now I've got my braid. Yes, that's nice. That's going to go nicely, fit nicely around my shell. And it's going to be nice and loose at first, which is fine, because by the time I'm going to be stretching these out around the edges of my shell, so I need a little extra. So what I'm going to do is take one of my wires and just wrap it around the top here to hold everything together. Just wrap it around a couple of times just to hold it together. And now I'm going to spread some of these, some of the braid apart so that I can wrap it around the shell. So you can use your nails. You can use your fingers if you don't want to worry about messing up your nails. You can use the tip of a pencil, or you can use your pliers and just kind of go in here and just spread the braid apart a little bit. Just kind of open it up like so. It's easier if I can do it down here, but I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing. Just kind of spreading it out. And once I've spread it out a little bit, I'm going to put it on my shell. See, this is why I said you need a little extra, because by the time you spread it out, some of that's going to shift down to the center here. So good. So now what I'm going to do is start wrapping the edges around the front and the back of my shell. So you just wrap that around. You can start at any point. You can start on the bottom. You can start on the sides. It's entirely up to you. Just get it started. First few are the most challenging because you're holding on to the shell and the wire at the same time. It's trying to shift all over the place. But it can be done. And I'm not chatting again. Anyway, so we're just going to open this up, just spread these out. To create a little frame around your shell. And you have to be patient with yourself. If I can put it down and do it, it's easier. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. Just occurs to me the white shell on the white or the cream colored mat might not be doing me any favors. Okay, it's starting to come together. And it's not going to be perfect right now because we've got this big opening up here on the top. So it's not completely conforming yet. But we just want to get the ball rolling. And then we can move on to our bail. I just want to get the cage started or the frame started so that I know that it'll fit. And like I said, just be very patient with yourself. It's this is a very, 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 very free form. So it doesn't look or have to look a certain way. And the wire is very malleable, so you don't have to worry too much about whether or not it will do what you want it to do, because it will. Okay, so what I'm going to do now that I've got some of that nicely spread out, is get to work on my bail, but I want to make sure that we're fitting here properly. Pretty little wraps. All right, too much silence. It's so quiet I can hear the little bird or whatever it is that I can hear outside of my window. I wonder if you can hear that. I don't know. Okay, so I will be back to play with this some more later, but I wanted to make sure I had my frame right, which I do. Cute, cute, cute. And we'll make some more adjustments on that in a bit. But now we want to do our bail. So I'm going to unfurl this. Straighten that out. And now just wrap it down closer to where I actually need it to be. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take one and wrap it around a couple of times. I'm going to take another wire, and you can choose which two wires you want. I usually choose the two shortest wires just to wrap around for my bail, just to hold everything in place. Okay, now let's firm that up a little bit. And you will be adjusting these wires throughout. Until you get it to where you want it. It's the joy of freeform. You can make it the way you want it. No two will be alike. I can almost guarantee it. That's why I always admire anybody who does freeform in earrings. Oh my gosh, trying to make two of something that's completely freeform is probably not really freeform. It's got a designated goal. With some freeform elements. I guess I should say a designated or a definite pattern with some freeform elements. I'm just chatting because I know otherwise you will get bored watching me work on my frame here. So I'm just giving you a little bit of nonsensical entertainment. Which is just me talking about nothing. A little bit more scalloped edges around here. And notice I'm just folding them over the front and back of my shell. That's basically what we're doing with our braid. I have one down the center, and I'm folding one down the front and one down the back. Just creating a nice little frame cage for my shell. Okay. I think I'm ready to roll with my veil here. All right, there we go. There's my frame. Okay, and now it's time to make the veil. So what I'm going to do is, I've done this a couple different ways. I think I braided that one. So I think we're going to braid it. We're just going to continue with the braid. The other one, I can't remember if I braided it or twisted it. Probably braided. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just do it, make a nice little braid. I want my wires to be side by side and as straight as I can get them to start out, so I can braid them up. Okay. All right, so let's start my braid. Just doing it the same way I did for the frame, except now I have my nice little shell to hold on to. And you decide how much of a braid you want. It depends on how big you want your veil to be. It doesn't have to be excessively large. It just depends on how big you want it to be. Now you can use a pen or a pencil or something to make your veil, which I did not bring with me today. There is my ink pen. There it is. Or you can do it with your fingers. This is pretty big. Might be bigger than I want, but you can use it as a shaping tool. You can also use your pliers or some nail, an actual veil maker if you have one of those. But if you don't want to buy something extra, you can just use an ink pen or a pencil. Like I'm doing. And this is plenty big enough. So there we go. Set that down there. Okay, so there's my veil. It's very pretty. So got that. So what I'm going to do is again unfurl some of a little bit of my braid here. I don't need all of that. I can feel my voice going. It's a very strange feeling. Okay, just unfurl a little bit of that. That goes out. And I'm just going to take a couple of my wires and I'm going to wrap it around to close up my veil. This one's already starting around, so we'll use it. So I'm just going to take these two wires. I'm going to wrap them around my veil just to close it up. And there we go. Nice wrapped veil. Then I'm going to bring my wires around. Now, you have a choice that you can make here. You can leave it like this, cut those wires off, and you're all finished. Or you can give it a little bit more decoration, which I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is take these wires, let's see, and I'm going to twist them together. I'm going to just take 2 at a time. Actually, I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to twist them together at the top here of my bead. Notice I haven't cut this off. This in the back, I'm going to figure out something to do with it. But for right now, I'm going to twist these wires together. And notice I'm twisting them all at the same time. I don't want to wrap 1 or 2 wires around the other 2 wires. I want to actually give it a twist. So I'm just going to loop this around. And I'm going to twist these 2 wires. Just twist those together. I love this wrap. It's so much fun. I've done it on beads, cabs, and now I'm doing it on shells. It's just so pretty and so easy. I mean, you braid it, you wrap it around the whatever item it is you're wrapping, and you're finished. You can either cut it off and leave it at that, or you can do what I'm doing and give it a little bit of a decorative touch. Okay, so I've twisted those 2, and now I'm going to twist these 2. I got these from this idea from Liz Crete. I'm pretty sure that she wrapped a cab with this kind of a wrap, and I've just kind of taken it and done all kinds of things with it. I love it. Okay, so now we've got these 2 twisted, and this, and we can just take them and wrap them around a little bit. Just give it a little more decoration here. Just wrap that around. Wrap this one around on either side of the bigger one that we did. I have absolutely no designated anything, just wrapping. Just giving them some little loops. And then when I get to the end, I'm just going to take my pliers and loop the ends. So that I don't have any sharp edges sticking out. Okay, do the same thing over here. Okay. And then just loop the ends and then hide the ends under the other wires so I don't have any sharp edges. And then just arrange them the way I want, any way I want. Looks like a little collar. 3D. Okay, and then on the back of this, I've got these two, and I will just do the same thing. Just twist them, twist the wires together. And just make a little loop on the back. When I get to the end, curl the edges under with my pliers, just give it a little loop. And hide those ends under the other wires, like so. And there we have it. There's my shell. I can go back and adjust these wires a little bit more if I want. Pull them out a little bit more. Make it a little tighter. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Awesome. Here it is. Here's our scallop trimmed scalloped shell. Now let's do our chain. Oh, and I actually do love this braided bail. That really came out pretty. I'm telling you, they come out different every time I make one. Okay, so now for the chain. So what I have done was I just took a piece of chain, about 18 inches, because I didn't want it too long. And then you just cut it into pieces. You cut it into the pieces that you want. And there's my shell's going to go here, like so. And then my beads are going to go in here. So you just decide what lengths you want. and how you want it to hang on your neck, where you want your beads to be placed. What I did was give myself about 2¼ inches down here before I get to my beads. And then I gave myself another 4 inches, I believe, up to my next beads, and then the rest of the way around my neck. And you can plot that out with a bead board, or you can just do it on a mat like I did. But if you want to measure, say you want a necklace that's 18 inches long, I would suggest using a bead board, or you can use a ruler. You can use your ruler to just measure out how much wire you need on each side, and then decide where you want to cut. But you want to measure the pieces so that the beads fall in the same place on each side. So now what we're going to do is wrap our beads and attach them to the chain. So for that, I need some more wire. And I like to give myself a good inch or so on either side of my bead for wrapping purposes. And we're going to attach it directly to our chain. So you can do that, or you can use jump rings. It's entirely up to you. But I thought I would use the chain and just attach it directly. So that's what we're going to do. And you want to check the kind of chain that I have has openings, so I want to make sure that they're nicely closed so that when I attach my beads, they don't come out through the little slit. Okay, now I have pretty small beads here, and I want about an inch or so on each side of my bead for wrapping purposes. So I'm going to cut my 4 pieces of wire. And get wrapping. Okay, so I'm going to slide one end of my wire into my bead, and I'm using 4 millimeter. These are stone beads. I'm trying to think of what they are. I'm pretty sure this is not turquoise. But I'm using stone beads as an accent just to give it some color, since this one is pure white. The other one I have had some Bordeaux in it, which is absolutely gorgeous. So I was able to use just some mother of pearl color to go along with it. So let's get going. So the first thing that I like to do is bend my wire off to the side on each side. So, excuse me, so the bead won't fall off while I'm wrapping. So I bend it at a right angle. Then I slide my pliers in. It doesn't have to go too far. It doesn't have to be too big a wrap. And I'm going to loop my wire over my pliers, and then turn my pliers, bring the wire back under the pliers until I have the start of a loop. So I have a nice loop there, and then I'm going to add it to my wire. So I'm going to take my wire. Let's start with the bottom. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to slide it into my loop here, like so. So now it's hanging down there in my loop, and I'm going to wrap my wire and close up my loop. So I'm going to grab my my wire on the side, my loop on the front and back of it, and I'm going to take the tail of my wire and wrap it between the pliers and the bead. I just wrap it several times, at least twice. And then when I get it where I want it, I can cut off the tail, or I can just flatten this small little end. I'm going to clip off that little tail and then take my pliers and push the ends down. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Slide my pliers in. Wrap part of the way around, then turn my pliers so I can wrap the rest of the way around under my pliers and on top of my bead or over my bead. Then I'm going to grab my first part of this other part of the chain. I'm going to slide that over the tail of my wire, just like I did on the other side. Let it drop down in the loop. Grab my loop with my pliers and wrap. There we go. And just wrap it around whatever number of times you want. I would suggest that you try to make them even on both sides, just so you have a little continuity, and then clip off what you don't need. I like to hold on to the tail so that it doesn't go flying across the room and then I have to go look for it. It's never fun. And then take your pliers and push down that edge. Nice and close to the bead so that you don't have to worry about any sharp edges. Okay, so this is the part where my bail is going to go. And this is the one side of my chain. And now let's attach these other two pieces. Have my bead, slide my bead on, bend it down one side so that the bead won't fall off, and bend it on the other side. So it looks something like a little wave. I'm going to take my pliers. Now for me, I'm sliding it down about a third of the way down my pliers because it doesn't have to be that big a loop. And I'm going to bring the tail end across my tires and over beside down the side of the bead. Turn my pliers, clamp down again, and then bring my wire under the pliers, between the pliers and the bead. And let's attach the next part of my wire. Okay, put my chain on, slide it down there in the wire loop. Grab my wire loop with the pliers and wrap the tail around until my loop is nicely closed. Cut off the tail. See, flew over there. Wasn't holding on. Bad, bad. And then take my pliers and push down the ends. That under. And under. There we go. Push. Go down there. Okay. Now the other side. Cut it back. Slide my pliers down a third of the way. Go halfway around. Turn my pliers. Go the rest of the way around. And grab my other piece of wire. Slide it on. And wrap. Wrappity wrap, wrap, wrap. That tail's really short. I could use some help with the pliers. Okay. Let's trim that off. And push down the end. Okay. And now let's go to the other side and do it. Now I'm going to do this side off camera so that you don't have to sit through that again. This one's going to go, that's going to be attached there and here. And this one's going to be attached here and here, just like on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and I will return and we'll make our clasp. All right, so now I have all of my beads on my chain, and I just slid it right over my nice big bail. That's the beauty of making a bail whatever size you want. I wanted to make it big enough so that I could just slide it over over the jump rings that are going to be on the end and down the center. And then if I want to, I can take this off and put something else on there. I can use a cord or something like that. But my bail is big enough that it'll fit over just about anything. So now let's make our clasp. And we're just gonna make a nice simple S clasp. So what I've done here is cut 2 inches of 20 gauge wire. Doesn't take much, just a couple inches. And then I'm gonna take my round nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. And I'm going to make a tiny 3/4 loop. Just going 3/4 of the way around until it's almost closed, but not quite. And then I'm going to take my flat pliers and I'm going to squeeze the bottom where it's open towards the top of the loop so that I can just kind of mash it down into a little tiny nub. So this little loop that's on here now is smaller than anything that you could do with your pliers. So that's what I want. So now I'm going to take my pliers. I'm going to slide it to the back. It doesn't need to be too big a loop. I'm just going to slide it all the way to the hilt of my pliers. The part with the loop hanging down, that's what I call the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is wrap my wire around away from the bottom of my loop. Just wrap it around until it touches the top of my loop, so that now I have shepherd's hook. So now I'm going to make the other side. Now I did 2 inches. You say, well, how do you know you have enough? I cut 2 inches of wires. I think it was a smattering over 2 inches. And now I have a smattering over 1 inch. So it's the right size. So this side took a little bit more than 1 inch, and this side's going to take a little more than 1 inch. So now what I'm going to do is the same thing I did on this side. I'm going to make another tiny 3/4 loop. This time I'm going to loop it towards my shepherd's hook. So there's my hook. I'm going to do my loop going in the direction of my first shepherd hook. It's going to go around 3/4 of the way. A little bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pliers again. I'm going to squeeze the bottom towards the top until I have the tiniest possible loop that I can get. You have to be patient. Don't want to squeeze too hard. Okay, and grab my pliers, slide my wire all the way down almost to the hilt, and bring the top of my shepherd's hook around until I have a second shepherd's hook. And now we have an S clasp. There we go. Nice, neat, and tidy. Now what you can do, this is 20 gauge, it's relatively soft, is take my trusty rubber mallet that I got from the dollar store. I'm so proud of this mallet. $1. And just pound it a little bit to give it some strength. You don't have to kill it. Just pound it enough to give it a little more strength. And now what happens is it starts to, once you pound it, it starts to come loose a little bit. So just make your, just see, it's already work hardened. Just that one little bit of pounding has made this very, very strong. That's awesome. Okay. And I like my loops to actually hit the back of my wire, so I don't have to worry about it coming loose. Now, you'll see that the reason I make this tiny little loop here is because it needs to go through my jump rings, which are these. So it needs to be small enough to go through this little loop. So if you have a great big loop, you might have problems getting it to go through. So now what I'm going to do back here for my clasp, the beauty of these S clasps is that they're a separate piece and they fasten on both sides. So you can leave it fastened on one side or attached on one side and then fasten it on the other. And it doesn't matter whether you're left or right-handed, because you can decide which side you want to fasten it on every time. So when you have something that's one directional, like a shell, you don't have to worry about, oh, okay, I need to make sure that the hook of my clasp is on the right or on the left, because you have a S clasp that has 2 hooks on it. Awesome. So now what we're going to do to attach this is use jump rings. Now I like to use 2 jump rings for each attachment, so I don't have to worry about one coming loose. When I'm using open jump rings, I just find that it's better to have two for extra security. And the other thing that I use for security is closed jump rings. But because I need to attach it and it's closed, I need to attach it to open jump rings because I need something that opens. Okay, so I'm going to show you the proper way to open and close your jump rings. So the proper way is to not pull it apart. You want to take a pair of pliers, find the opening, which is right there, and I hold it on one side of the opening with the pliers, and then I can take my thumb and push down to open it up. So now I have a nice open jump ring. And when I close it back, all I have to do is squeeze it closed and it's perfect. The other way is to, again, take your pliers, grab it on one side of the opening, take another set of pliers, grab that on the other side of the opening, and just twist. And again, perfect open jump ring. All right, so let's do some attaching. So on one side, I'm going to put two of the jump rings. One jump ring and one closed jump ring. And close it up. Make sure that it's tightly closed. The ends are meeting. And then the second jump ring, attach that to my chain as well. And the closed jump ring. Just in there. It does not want to go. Too bad. There we go. And close it. And there's one side all ready to go. I don't know why my thing is making noise. I don't know if you can hear alerts on my computer, but it's annoying. All right, so there's one. And the other side, attach my open jump ring to my chain. Add the closed jump ring. Close it up. And then take my other open jump ring and add that to the chain. And the closed jump ring. And the one thing that you want to be cautious about is that you don't accidentally hook one open jump ring in with the other open jump ring. You want those to be two separate pieces, side by side, but not linked together. And so there is my jump ring. And now all I have to do is attach my clasp. It's one side and the other side. And this is why I like to make sure that my ring is touching the back of my my clasp, because this way when I put it on, snaps into place, but it won't come back off until I take it off. So I like to have it nice and tight back there. And there we have it. There is our piece of summer beach wear. Now that we can go to the beach, yay! So there it is, our nice little shell necklace. What could be cuter? I love it. Isn't that great? All right. And that is our tutorial for the day. All right, so let's go over here. And there it is. There's our pretty little necklace. Beautiful little scallop wrap around the edges. And our beads that are enhancing our chain. And you don't have to make any enhancement on your chain. You can just wear it as is. You can just put it on the chain and go, because this is a pretty enough piece that you don't really have to do any other embellishment. It's embellished enough. Isn't that neat though? I love it. That is so pretty. I get so excited about the dumbest stuff. But anyway, there we go. There is our summer program. I hope you, or not the whole program, but our first really endeavor into serious summer beach type wear. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back, and I hope we can do more later on. Until I see you again, or until you see me again, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, and try to stay cool. Bye-bye.